Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I apologize for the delay in between episodes. Life's been happening, but we're here, so let's crack on with this episode. Sometimes in life, I make mistakes, and I kept calling this an axolotl in the previous episode, which you guys commented on, and I actually named him Axolotl. So here's our axolotl, and he will be forever known as Axolotl. I wish the cage showed his name, his or her name. But anyways, we'll leave our axolotl over here. Anyways, let's where do we leave off? In the previous episode, we were doing bees, and I haven't actually set up any bees yet, but I did go ahead and finish my little bee area. So in this back wall, we're going to have all of our centrifuges, and they are connected with inventory cables back here, connecting to all of our hives. So if you grab our network tool from Super Factory Manager, you can see all the green outlines are our inventory cables, and they go down below the platform and are connecting to each and every one of these beehives. And this is kind of where I have like a little garden set up and where all of our bees will be. The reason why we got into bees in the first place was so I could automate Vibranium, or like produce Vibranium, because I wanted the Unobtanium Arcanist gears. A little oversight on my part is the Vibranium bees. If you take a look at JEI, you can see that you can't breed the Vibranium bees. You have to make it through the spawn egg. And that's done in the foundry by pouring molten Vibranium on an Unobtanium spawn egg. Oh, come on. Let's go inside so we don't get wet. A slight problem with that is, in order to melt Vibranium and all Unobtanium inside of the foundry, we need soul lava. And soul lava is not too complicated to get. It just requires the fluid laser drill setup above a warden. And we can totally do that, but I'm going to hold off on it for the moment just because I don't have an area for it, and I'd like to build an area so, you know, it'll have its permanent place, rather than setting up a temporary thing. So in the meantime, we can just craft a little bit more Vibranium ingots. And everything is pretty easy except for the nether stars. And we don't have that many nether stars. I only have 3 because we haven't automated that yet. So that's what we're kind of going to do in this episode. And then once we have a bunch of those, we can just craft Vibranium, and then we'll have enough to be able to upgrade our gears. Each one of these smithing templates is going to require 9 Vibranium each, and we're going to need at least 5 for the Vibranium tier, and then we'll need 5 more to be able to make the Unobtanium ones, plus a bunch of more Vibranium. So we're going to need a bunch. And if you guys take a look over here, I have built a little area tucked away in here. It is a secret guarded off cave, and it is our danger zone. So let's have a little tour of what this place looks like. A little underwhelming, I know. That's because it's not complete yet, but I think it's going to look really good once we're done with it. I wanted kind of like a little dark corner of the map that like leads down into a dungeon sort of thing. So we got to sneak down below the caution tape and head down there. The plan for this area is basically all of our mob stuff, dungeon-y sort of things. So in this section over here, I'm going to build our pit where it's going to basically, we're going to teleport the mobs here and have them killed. And then with this chest, I'm going to try to set up a automatic gateway spawning system. So I can put the gateway in here, and then it'll be spawned somewhere over there, and then teleport the mobs over here and have them killed. The gateways mod was updated, and now there's a bunch of like really cool overpowered gateways, like the gateway of Apotheosis pinnacle, it's just going to spawn a bunch of, look, and the reward on the first wave is 2,000 experience. So these things are crazy, and I do want to try them. I spawned one just to kind of test it out, and it was a mistake. It did not go well, but we'll set up a way to deal with those pretty soon. And then I'll have the Wither over here that we can milk for Aether Gas, and the Warden over here for Soul Lava. And then we can set up some other stuff like over here. But the reason why we're down here for now is to set up hostile neural networks in this room. Since that is mob loot, even though it's simulated, we can set it up down here. And obviously the walls are gonna change a bit. I'm gonna add more detail and skeletons, and the ceiling has to change, all that stuff. So we'll figure out a way to make this look pretty. But anyways, let's get started with hostile neural networks. I do need to make some recipes for it, and that will allow us to easily make these loot fabricators and simulation chambers. I'm going to use the ratio of 4 simulation chambers to 1 loot fabricator. That's worked well for me in the past, so we'll just stick with that. If you are unfamiliar with this mod, it is basically, it just generates mob loot for you in a simulated environment. So you're not like actually killing the monsters, but it's basically simulated. So we'll put our loot fabricators down here, and then the simulation chambers will go above it. These things do require power, and you put in the model frameworks for whatever mob you have, and that's why we did the withers. So we have a basic data model for all these withers, and we can put in here, and then it'll generate wither loot. So we get these wither predictions, and you can put that in the loot fabricator and then pick whatever loot you want from it. In the case of the wither, the only option is the nether star, but if we have something like sheep, for example, you can get any colored wool that you get from sheeps from these guys, or mud also. So it's very, very useful, and we're going to set it up. We do need to be able to access our storage. So over here, we're going to put an interface down, and I'll use the extended one. The oversized one we don't really need, but so our interface will go over there, and I will also be using Super Factory Manager. So let's make some cables, and our manager block can go above that, and we need to connect everything with inventory cables. So let's go out here. Oh, and this guy needs a wireless connector. There were a few of you guys confused about the wireless connector setup. I got some comments about that, so I'll also quickly go over that. Hopefully that'll help clear some things up. And then we're just gonna connect all these up with inventory cables. This is gonna be very, very easy to automate. It's gonna be great. So I'm going to grab the position of this guy, and we can close this up. Let's go to our applied logistics area, and I will show you. So this wall of wireless connectors we have is going to be used for every single setup we have around. So anything that you want to connect to your main network is just going to happen on this wall. So we had that wireless connector connected, so I'm just going to go to the next one and link it to this guy. And now if you take a look, you can see it's connected to our interface by the hostile neural network setup. The way these guys are connected to our main network is through this wireless connector. So this is the only wireless connector that's hooked up to our subcontroller. So you can see all of these P2P tunnels are connected directly to our main controller. So they're taking the 32 channels from this face of the controller and sending it down to the wall over here. So underneath all of these guys, you can see you have the P2P tunnels. So imagine these P2P tunnels are basically direct links from this dense cable to a face of our main controller. And the way these P2P tunnels get over here is through the wireless connector that's on our subcontroller. So if we take a look back up here, all of these P2P tunnels are connected to our main controller. So anything that we connect to these P2P tunnels are going to get linked to our main controller. So you can see all of our drives, our wireless connectors that we have down there, everything is connected to this guy, to our main controller. And this singular controller is our subcontroller that's only running our P2P tunnels. So all of these P2P tunnels, the channels that they're getting, because it's a device and it requires a channel and power to operate, those are coming from our subcontroller. And then imagine, instead of a wireless connector here, imagine it's a dense cable running straight down. So I think underneath this one, yeah. So here's where the other wireless connector is. So the link between this wireless connector and this one, imagine there's just a dense cable running all the way down over here. But instead of having a big ugly cable coming down, I decided to use a wireless connector. So let's cover this back up and put a piece of glowstone in to get that light effect. And if we go down here, that's where this is connected to our subcontroller, as you can see. And this is running all of our P2P tunnels. So if we grab a network tool, we will see all of the cables running off of this wireless connector connected to our subcontroller that are running our P2P tunnels. So this dense cable, you see how it has 5 channels on it? Those are the 5 P2P tunnels. And each of those P2P tunnels are linking the dense cables back here directly to the face of the controller over there. So these 3 wireless connectors can all have a total of 32 channels. I hope that kind of makes things a little bit more clear. Basically, every setup that we use is going to be connected to these wireless connectors. The one down here is just to bring our channels from our P2P devices over here so that we can link them all up together. And this power setup basically is, I think it'll be more clear if we go take a look up here. So I'm currently powering our applied energistic system with this energy acceptor. So I'm pushing the power that we're generating into this energy acceptor, which is powering our main controller. And that means if we come over here, what I did down there with the quartz fiber is basically, oh, let's not forget to delete our network tool, because that requires deleting every time. Basically, the only thing I'm doing down there with the power to power our subcontroller, because this guy is being powered our main controller, is this. I just have a quartz fiber on our subcontroller network, and I connect that to our main controller, and then that allows power to travel to our subcontroller without the channels getting mixed up. Because if we don't have the quartz fiber over there, you can see it links the 2 controls together, and that causes an error because you can't have 2 controllers on one network. But it's that same exact setup, but instead of doing it up here where you can kind of see it, I've hidden it behind the wall back here. So it's just happening over here because on this side of the P2P tunnels, it's our sub network. And then on the other side is our main network. And I just link the 2 together with this quartz fiber. Same exact deal. All right, and while we're down here, so in order to set up the hostile neural networks, each time you run a simulation, it's going to use a prediction matrix, and I want to have these automatically being kept in stock. And we could use a crafting card inside of our interface by our hostile neural network setup, but that's going to cause us to be basically auto-crafting this the entire time. So constantly, as soon as one is used, it'll have to auto-craft one. So I want to kind of have it do it in bulk. That way it crafts everything. And then we have like, I don't know, like half an hour or an hour that it doesn't have to craft anymore. And in order to achieve that, I am going to use requesters, and we can set that up on this wall over here. So we've got 6 little areas. Let's actually make the recipes for these guys. And we also need the requester panel. And I can use 20 requesters. And then I also want to set up quantum crafters. And these guys are really good also. To set these guys up, I'm going to put down a dense cable below, because we're going to have 20 requesters and 8 of these quantum crafters. And that's a total of 28 channels we need, which can all be handled with just one dense cable. So we'll do 2 rows of those and then 2 rows of these quantum crafters. So let's hook those guys up. We will have to go this way. And this should be the exact center, I think, right? Yeah. So I'm going to use our dense cable. Oh, come on. Nice. Just like that. And then below it, I'll come down one more. And we will set up a P2P tunnel on top of this to give us our 32 channels. And with the smaller cables, we can connect this P2P tunnel because it's only going to use one channel on this side to hook that up to our subcontroller. Now we need to set up our P2P tunnel with the memory card. So let's just select the next guy over here. And while I'm here, I'm going to set down my requester terminal up here, and then we'll be able to access our requesters. So then we go back down here and link that to this. Now you can see it's carrying 24 channels. Oh, we only have 16 of those guys. 16's fine. I miscalculated. That should be okay. If we need more, I can make more later on. And then I'm just going to use our facades to cover this. Okay, what this means now is that we can make those these prediction matrices, and I can set them up in the requester. I'm going to toggle all of these off, and then as we set them up, we'll toggle it back on. All right, and as our first thing for the requester, I'm going to set up these prediction matrices, and I want to have 256 at all times, at least. But again, I don't want to make one at a time for the bat size. So the bat size, I'm going to put 1024. That means every time we run, we have less than 256 prediction matrices. It's going to craft 1,000 of them, 1024 in one big batch. So you submit the changes. And if I turn this on and we look at the matrices, you can see I just made 1024. And if I take out some stacks, it's not going to make any more until I run below that 256, and then it's going to make 1024 more. There it is. So this will keep it stocked, and basically, instead of our crafting card making one at a time the entire time our game is running, this is just going to, every few minutes, 10 minutes, however long it lasts, it's going to make a bulk craft, and then it doesn't have to be auto crafting the whole time. So with that set up, we should now be able to set up our hostile neural network setup. And that's going to be actually really easy. I'll show you guys. So we have our inventory cables connected to everything. Let's put our disk in. First, we need to give these guys power. And because we have applied flux, we can make an induction card. I don't know if I have... Oh, I do. So we need an induction card in our interface, and then we can stock power in it by using any tool or weapon or whatever that has power inside of it. And then you can see if we right click, it's going to set FE. If we left click, it's going to set the Paxel. So any container that holds an item inside, if you have that container and you right click, it'll set whatever's inside of the container. And if you left click, it'll set the container item itself. So this guy has power stored in it. So it's going to set our FE if we right click. And I'll set this up to 1,000,000, I guess. So now this interface is basically like a battery that has 1,000,000 FE in it. And every time we use some, it's going to replenish it from our FE cell. So that's how we can power all of these things. So let's take care of that. We're going to turn this off first. And our name will be Hostile Neural Automation. And with power, you can do every tick. It's only everything else like items, fluids, chemicals, things like that, that is limited to a 20 tick minimum. But with power, you can do every tick. So we're going to input that FE from the interface. And then we just want to output that to the loot fabricators as well as the sim chambers. And if we grab our label gun and we pull the labels, we can label our simulation chambers by holding Control to do all of them. And then, oh, I also need the interface. And now you can see these guys all have power inside of them. So they are getting power. And the next thing we need to do is move those prediction matrices And I'm going to keep those guys stocked in this interface also. And let's say we want a stack of those in here. So now we need to move these guys. It's called prediction_matrix. So we can't do that in here because, again, the 20 tick minimum is only, every tick due is only for FE. So if you try to move items inside of here, it's going to give us an error. So we'll make a new statement and I'll say every 20 ticks due, we're going to input a prediction matrix from the interface. And then we want to output retain 2. I like to do 2 at a time so we don't keep like a stack in each of the machines. That just wastes some resources. And I want to keep those to each of the simulation chambers. And the slot for that matters. It's going to be slot number 1 for this guy. So we'll say slots 1, put an end. Now you can see nothing goes in here because this doesn't accept prediction matrices until we have a data model in there. So as soon as I put the wither data model in there, you can see the prediction matrices go, and this is going to start running now. So all of these first 4, I'm going to put our wither data models, and we'll have 4 wither data models going at the same time with these guys. So this is running now, and you can see in slot number 2, we get these generalized predictions, and these guys, we can't really do anything with it. I mean, you can craft things with it, but that's it. So we just need to store it. And basically, I'm just going to pick those up and put it in the interface. And again, that was slot number 2. So we will put a forget. That way, these 2 inputs won't get mixed up. And we are going to input whatever is in. So we're going to input from the sim chamber, and that was slot number 2, which is the generalized predictions, and we're just going to output that to the interface. So as soon as I do that, you can see these guys go into our interface, and now they are in our system. And then the next thing we need to do, none of these have been successful yet, except for this guy. So then we get the mob prediction in slot number 3, and we need to pick that up and put it inside of the loot fabricator so we can get our nether stars. So I'll do that next. We're going to input from sim chamber slots 3 and then output to the loot fabricators, and that should work. So now one of these has the nether star, and then in here I just have to set the recipe for that. So now it's going to make nether stars. And then we pick up the nether star from the loot fabricator, and we just output that to the interface. So just like that, we have fully automated hostile neural networks. So now that nether star, remember we had 3, now we have 5. So those guys are going. I do have to set up that thing for all of these machines, because if another one of those predictions goes in these 3 machines, we haven't clicked the nether star yet, so this machine doesn't know to make that. And with hostile neural networks, they just made this fabrication directive. And with this guy, you can right click to copy the settings from this machine and then shift right click on the other ones. So now all of these are set up. So it's not that big of a deal if you have only one prediction or like one mob going, but if you have like 15 different mob loot going, you don't want to set that up for like 10 different loot fabricators. You can just set it up in one and then copy that setting to all the rest of them. Right, so that is all set up. I'm just going to make sure that we have a bulk storage cell set up for the nether star and also another cell for the generalized predictions. So here's the one for our stars. I don't think I need to compress this one actually. So I'll just do that to put the rest of the stars in there. And now we have that. And then I do have a 256 million storage component. And actually, why don't we make some normal cells? I'll make 20 normal cells. Look how fast this is. I'm not going to speed this up. So we just requested 256, 20 of them. And that's it. We made them all. And we need the cell housing for it. And those guys I will just put in this third one. And this will be able to store a bunch of the random items that we have. I am going to move away from our sophisticated storage system to like having everything on disks eventually, but I'm just doing it slowly. All right, that is fully set up. And if you didn't know, those data models, I think they're just basic models. Let's take a look. Yeah, they're just basic models, and you can see the accuracy is 0.17. That basically means we have a 17% chance of it being successful to get another star, to get the loot, the withered loot prediction thing. And as this machine works, each time it runs through an iteration, it's going to become more and more accurate until this is a self-aware data model. And see, now it just turned to 18%. Once it is self-aware, it will be 0.99. So basically every single time it does one, it should be successful with a very, very small chance of it failing. I do want to do a couple of more things. We need wool. I have very limited amount of wool, and that is very useful for crafting lots of the dense cables. So I want to do one thing of sheep, and then I do want to do another one of blaze rods, because right now we're not getting any blaze rods, even though we have tons of blaze powder. I don't want to do the Oritech assembler thing. We could just automate this and like set up a request or something. I don't want to do bees for it either. This I think to me makes the most amount of sense. So I'm just going to grab our deep learner, and then we're going to go kill some blazes in the nether and also kill some sheep. I think I do have some sheep in here. I have 5 sheep, which kind of sucks because we need 6. And they're all tiny. So I will put that sheep guy in here. This is hilarious. No, stop. If you're wondering what's going on, if you use a personal shrinking device, you can change the size of the mobs and catch them inside of a bottle. And they don't have to be tiny. Like I can make this guy even bigger. So like, let's say we make him twice as big, you can still catch him in the thing. So, and every time we kill him, we're going to get, so there's 4 remaining because I killed 2. You basically need 6 to start with. And I'm just going to need 1 more sheep, which I will get by just spawning another one of those things. Actually, can we get from the market, can we get a sheep egg? Let's take a look. This was changed in the latest update. We can get sheep spawn eggs, nice. All right, so wool is also automated. Let's go to the nether. And there's a million blazes over here. Wow, what's that? Oh, it's a magma cube. So we'll just pick one of those guys up, put them in here, and we can leave that in our offhand so we can see the thing. Oh, by the way, now that we're getting nether stars, I can actually make a witherless rose. Witherless, come on. And this guy is going to make us immune to wither damage. And we'll just put that in our charm slot. So now if we get hit by these wither skeletons, you can see we're not getting withered. Man, these armors from Just Dire things are so weak. I'm dying to wither skeleton. Oh, come on, are you kidding me? I suck. That other blaze doesn't mess around. Let's erase our evidence. As you guys saw, we are extremely weak, and we're gonna take care of that today. All right, so now that we have more nether stars, we can craft Vibranium. So we can upgrade all of ours gears to Vibranium tier. So let's go take care of that. We are gonna need more of these geoearth shards, so I'm going to turn off auto smelt on these guys. So that'll give us the actual shards. that we'll need. But first we need to make those, what is it called? Crystalline ingot, however you want to call it. We should be able to just click this in there, I think. Perfect. So that gives us 2 stacks, which might be enough for now. 2 stacks of vibranium. And those guys can go inside of our ender crafting, and this is going to take a really long time, so we're going to speed it up with our time in the bottle. It's honestly still pretty slow, even with the time in the bottle. These ender crafters have a range of a 7x7x7 around for these alternators, and the more you have, the faster it'll craft. So you can put this in the middle and then surround it with a bunch of these alternators, and it'll make it a bit faster. But that should give us enough to make 6 of the vibranium smithing templates, which means we can upgrade all of our gear to the vibranium tier, starting with the spell book. And now we need to go mine some unobtanium, but we will need a vibranium pickaxe for that. The like Celesta gem stuff won't work. So I'm going to take the fortune off of this one so we can have fortune, and then we will upgrade our diamond pick to a vibranium one. Here we are. This, I believe, is all End Highlands. Yeah. Usually the unobtainium is like close to the surface. We can just use any form of like destroying things. So I'm going to use the destruction gadget, but you guys can do like TNT or the builder from RF tools, whatever you want to use is going to destroy a bunch of those blocks. And then the unobtainium ore is going to remain like this, and we can mine it with fortune. You cannot ulti-mine with these guys, so you can see if I'm holding ulti-mine, it doesn't break. So we do have to do it manually one by one. And hopefully our fortune will work better than that. Yikes. Here's some more. So I'm just going to collect, I don't know, maybe a stack of unobtainium. Oh, and while we're here, I am going to grab these. Where'd he go? You'll find ender bees, and we're going to need those pretty soon. So if you do find ender bees, just grab them. They teleport around. That's why I think that's what just happened. There he is. We will need at least 2 of those guys. All right, so I got just a little over a stack of unobtainium, and we can use our ore hammer to double this guy, which will be helpful, and we'll just smelt those up. So let's make 1 unobtainium thing and 1 vibranium thing. And now we can double it using this method with end stone. That should be good enough. Oops, I may have used too many. All right, now we have full unobtainium gears for these, which is going to be really, really handy, but we're not done there yet. I do want to add some more upgrades. First, I want to, basically with Ars Nouveau, you use mana, and mana regen and mana boost is really important. So we can get spell power, or what is it called? Spell damage, I think. We can make these spell damage potions, and that'll give us +2 spell power, which will be really cool. Because we can put that on our potion filters and then automate it. I'll make a couple of these potion filters. So one will be for spell power, one will be for mana regen. We have 8 of these mana regen potions from our mob farm. So we can do that like this. And that only gets us about halfway there. So I do need to set up a brewing stand. To automate the brewing stand, it's not actually too bad. Just because we're going to need a lot of potions to do, and this will be easier. I do have the code, and this is what it looks like. It's basically just using a timer for how long it takes to brew potions to move those bottles from one brewing stand to the next ones. And it's going to keep them stocked with blaze powder. So it'll grab the blaze powder from there. We just need to label everything. So input barrel, result barrel, and then we have 3 different brewing stands like that. And that's it. We push those in, and they should be ready to go. I do also need a sink. so we can just easily grab water from there. Now, each of those mana regen ones, mana regen 2, give us 3 minutes, and we need 60 minutes total for the potion filter. That means we need 20 of those things, and we've already used 12. Or was it 8? I think I only had 8, so we need 12 more. So I'll make 15 more. Actually, we can make 12. So I'll grab the 12 water bottles, and this guy's going to be glowstone, sourceberry, and netherwort. And we'll need 4 of each of those. And what was it? Glowstone. So I'm going to put the netherworts in, the sourceberry, and the glowstone in, and then we just put all of these bottles inside of the barrel, and they go in here. I'm going to start crafting with the netherwort, and then as soon as this is done, it's going to get moved over here to the sourceberry. So that'll complete our mana regen, and then the next one we were doing was spell power. And the spell power one is also glowstone, and then it's going to require mage bloom. And we'll need to make 21 of these guys, so I'll make 7 with 21 bottles. So as soon as these are all done, I can do the next. So you can see these are all filled up. Here's mana regen 1, and then it's going to get to mana regen 2, and then it'll get outputted here. It's nice when you're like familiar and comfortable with Super Factory Manager. It's really convenient to like, you know, use it for stuff like this. All right, our spell damage 2 is fully activated. I'm just waiting on the last potion for our potion filter. While that is going, I do also want to set up enchantments for these guys because that'll help us a lot. We should have protection 5 already. So there's our protection 5 book. And I do want to also use mana boost. So we have the mana boost spells, and this can go up to 5, but we can only make up to the 3rd one inside of the enchanting apparatus. But we can make multiples of those and then combine them together. So here we can do, if I set a real book in there, I am going to need more source berries. And if you have an auto clicker set up, this is going to be very fast. So we need to make this book before we can make this second tier one. So the enchanting apparatus, there's mana boost 1 because of the MBT data issues. And there's this guy. All right, so we take mana boost 2 and we can make the mana boost 1, and we can make mana boost 2 with it. And I might also need to make this recipe. So there's mana boost 2, and we can use that to make mana boost 3. Just because of the so you see how this one has mana boost 2, but it could be anything. It's the MBT data is a little bit weird. So when I click this one in, you can see the plus sign appears because now it knows that it can make that one. Otherwise, it just has issues, which is frustrating. So the first time you kind of have to make at least one of them, but now we can say that we want mana boost 3, and we're going to need 4 of these guys to combine up to level 5, right? So now I can just say make 4 of those, and it knows to make all the other stuff. And while that is going, the next enchantment we're going to need is mana regen. So we can make that as well. And we need an anvil to combine all these guys together. So there's mana boost 4 and 5, which is the maximum. So now we have protection 5, mana boost 5. We got our mana regen 3s that we can combine up to a 5. So now we have all of these books, and I'm going to combine them together. So now we have a book that is protection, mana boost, and mana regen 4, and we can use Super Factory Manager to duplicate these books, and it's going to duplicate a book with all 3 enchantments on it at the same time. So let's go over here where we have this set up, and I'll grab a block of iron. And what we can do is throw down that book and drop that on top, and then we get this printing form. And if you notice now, guys, the enchantments are actually shown on this printing form. There was a small bug in 1.21. It wasn't showing that. And I that day that I made the episode about the enchanting duplication with Super Factory Manager, I talked to Teamy, who's the mod dev for Super Factory Manager, and I think he literally fixed it on the same day and pushed out the update. So that was super cool. Very proactive dev for Super Factory Manager. So now that we have this, we can duplicate them. All we need is more experience shards. All right, and then we're going to take, on top of obsidian now, we're going to throw down all of these enchantment books and drop our anvil to give us these experience shards that we can craft into goop. And we're going to need one more goop, so we need 4 total for all of our armors. So I'll make some more books. And then now we need the printing press that we can just set down over here and use a piston down there. We're going to put our printing form over there and all of our goop plus 4 books. And we'll also need a button to activate the piston. So we put the button up there, the books in there, and every time we do this, it's going to duplicate a book with all 3 of those enchantments on there. So this is the nice part about Super Factory Manager. Like the create one is definitely more convenient, but it has limits on how high of enchantments you can duplicate because of the experience cost, and it's not going to give you a book with all 3, or like you can have 10 enchantments on a book and duplicate it. So that's why the Super Factory Manager way can be a little bit more powerful. It's just a lot more work to do it because you have to like make the books and drop the anvil on there for the goop. It would be cool maybe in the future we can automate that, so we can basically auto craft the goop. That would be cool. All right, now with these guys, I can go ahead and grab our gears, and we should be able to enchant this now. It does cost 30 levels, which is not a problem. So now all of these have protection, mana regen, mana boost on there, which will be great. I also want to put stable footing on the boots. That way it doesn't take us a longer amount of time to mine when we're flying. So stable footing is also very important. And now I can take off my Eclipse Alloy stuff and put these guys on. And a couple more things. So you can see we lost our step assist. I can actually, hopefully we have a solar gem in here. Yeah, perfect. So I'll use this one because I only want 1 step height. And let's just grab some other gems like those guys. And we can use our salvaging table to get the dusts. And what we can do is make a socketing sigil of socketing. And we can use that on our boots to put step assist on there. So I'll put the boots in there with the sigil of socketing. And that's going to open up 1 socket. And then we can put our solar gem on our boots. And now that's going to give us step assist. So now we can have that step assist back. Super cool. We'll get more into Apotheosis later on, but for now, that should be good. I do also want to craft some threads. We will need an alteration table for that to be able to apply the threads. And threads are just oh no, I used all my Mage Bloom. Are just a way of, it's kind of like the gems from Apotheosis. So if we take a look at threads, like we can get True Sight, which will basically give us night vision and immunity to like the darkness from the warden and all that stuff. So that's really cool. Thread of Vitality will give us extra hearts per each level. So stuff like that could be nice. So now we can make like Thread of Vitality, for example, and that's going to give us more hearts. Another really powerful one is the Thread of Spell Power. So that's going to be a big one for us. And then the way you apply these is just by, like, let's say I want to put the vitality on my chest piece. You put it on the altering table, and then you can put the thread in there. And the higher the level your thread is, the better its effects will be. So at level 6, we should get plus 12 max health that we're getting from that. And then this spell power one is going to be, so if I put it in this one again, it's going to be tier 5, right? I don't want that. I want another tier 6. So I'll put it on a different piece of armor. And that is going to give us an additional plus 12 spell power, which is really good. So now we're up to, we take a look over here. Our spell power is up to 62. So we're going to do a ton more damage, and we can use our spell book and make some like actual spells. So on number 1, I'm going to do our projectile break, and I'll add some, I'll add some speed acceleration. Let's see what we need for that. I think we need a powered rail, right? Let's make a powered rail. And we want accelerate. Perfect. It annoys me when the projectile is so slow. So we're going to do projectile and then give it like 3 accelerates just so it'll go faster. And then we're going to do break, a couple of amplifies on the break, and extract to apply silk touch to it. So this will be our break spell. And then on number 2, I'm going to do projectile, again, some amplifies. And then I'll do a, not break, harm. Amp, and this will, I'll just call this missile for now. So this will be a single target projectile that'll do a decent amount of damage. And we can put our missile on this one. So that's going to kill mobs. But something you can actually do with Ars Nouveau. So instead of every time having to switch between break and missile to, you know, break things and hit mobs with it, we can set a quick keybind for that. So if we go category Rs, here's quick cast. So you can see on spell slot number 1, I have it on button 5, and that's going to be my break spell. So even though right now I'm on missile, I can still break by using the other one. And then I can like attack mobs and then break with this one. So I don't have to like actually change it. So that's a great way to have like multiple spells. So you don't have to like go through the scroll wheel every time. And then you may not have known, this is generally a pretty new update, but we can customize everything about these spells. So if you go to projectile, and right now, like here's the trail, right? Instead of it being a line, I can make it a helix. And now when you use that spell, you can see it like has a little helix, and you can change the colors and the particles. So right now the particle is glow, but we can make it like hearts instead, for example. And then you can see there's hearts that go through. And you can change the sounds, like basically everything about the spells. So I'll mess around with that in between episodes and just kind of come up with something interesting that I like. And you guys can do the same. But anyways, I think that's where I'm going to leave it on this episode. In between episodes, I'll just go ahead and drink these potions, and we'll also have resistance too. So that will also be there. So we'll be much tougher. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.